In the history of conquest, one man stands alone, Alexander III of Macedon. But standing beside him, from his boyhood until the final, distant campaign, was an equally legendary figure, a creature of power, speed, and unwavering loyalty. This is the story of Bucephalus, the most famous horse of antiquity. His name, meaning ox head, speaks to his imposing size and massive build. He was a Thessalian stallion, black-coated with a striking white star on his brow. He was a horse so magnificent, so utterly untamable, that he was destined to be ridden by no one less than the future king of the world. For 2 decades, this horse carried his master across continents, through the dust of 1,000 battles, from the sun-drenched plains of Greece to the muddy banks of the Indus. He was not just a mount, he was a symbol of Alexander's ambition, his genius, and the profound, almost mystical bond between a warrior and his steed. Our story begins in Macedon, around the year 344 BCE. A horse dealer from Thessaly, a region famous for its cavalry, named Philonicus, brought a massive, nearly 16-hand-tall black stallion to King Philip II. The price was astronomical, 13 talents, an immense sum, signaling the horse's exceptional pedigree. However, the horse, which the men quickly named Bucephalus, likely due to a brand or the shape of his head, proved utterly savage. He reared violently, ignored all commands, and would not allow a single groom, no matter how experienced, to even approach his flanks. Philip, frustrated at the immense cost and the animal's untamable nature, ordered him led away. But a 12-year-old boy was watching from the sidelines, Prince Alexander. The young Alexander exclaimed, "What an excellent horse they are losing for want of address and boldness to manage him." This was no idle boast. Alexander made a famous wager with his father. If he failed to tame the horse, he would pay the full 13 talents himself. Amid the laughter of the court, the young prince approached the snorting, furious beast. Alexander did something the seasoned horseman had failed to do. He didn't rush, he studied the horse. He noticed that Bucephalus was not simply vicious, he was terrified. The horse was spooked by the movement of his own shadow cast by the sun. Alexander gently took the bridle, turned the horse's head directly toward the sun, eliminating the frightening shadow. Speaking to him in a soft, low voice, he calmed the powerful stallion. Then, with a single, smooth movement, the 12-year-old mounted Bucephalus. The two rode out, and when Alexander returned, the great horse was docile under his small rider. Philip, overjoyed and astounded, famously declared, "O my son, look thee out a kingdom equal to and worthy of thyself, for Macedonia is too little for thee." From that moment on, Bucephalus accepted only Alexander as his rider. The destiny of the man and the horse were sealed. The next decade was a period of rigorous training. As Alexander prepared to inherit his father's vast military machine, Bucephalus was his constant companion. He learned to trust Alexander in every situation: the chaos of the companion cavalry drills, the noise of weapons, the scent of fear. In 336 BCE, King Philip was assassinated. Alexander, now 20, mounted Bucephalus and took the throne. The conquest began almost immediately. Bucephalus carried Alexander into his first major conflicts, cementing his reputation. At the Battle of Chaeronea, where Alexander led the final, decisive charge, Bucephalus was there. When Alexander brutally destroyed the rebellious city of Thebes, Bucephalus was beneath him. The horse was not merely a mode of transport, he was an extension of the king's will, a morale booster for the troops, and an absolute terror to the enemy. This relationship was a strategic asset. A general who rides a renowned, fierce horse into the thickest fighting projects invincibility. This partnership, the brilliant young king and his magnificent, untamable horse, was cultivated by Alexander into a piece of propaganda that inspired his own men and struck fear into his enemies. Alexander's heroes were the epic figures of Homer, like Achilles and his immortal horses. Alexander consciously molded his own image in this heroic tradition, and Bucephalus was the central element. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor, beginning the world's most audacious campaign against the mighty Achaemenid Persian Empire. Bucephalus was right there, crossing the waters alongside him. Bucephalus bore Alexander through the first great victory at the Battle of the Granicus River, where Alexander led a furious cavalry charge across the river itself. But their most iconic moment is forever captured in the magnificent Alexander mosaic, which depicts the pivotal Battle of Issus. Notice the horse in the center. That is Bucephalus. The mosaic captures his black coat, muscular neck, and fierce expression. He carries Alexander directly toward the Persian king, Darius III, demonstrating the reckless, frontal courage that defined Alexander's tactics. The bond was so strong that it even birthed an incident that proved Alexander's devotion to his horse. While campaigning in the region of Hyrcania, near the Caspian Sea, Bucephalus was kidnapped by local bandits while Alexander was on an excursion. Alexander's reaction was terrifying. He sent a messenger to the entire region, proclaiming that if his horse was not immediately returned, he would fell every tree, lay the countryside to waste, and slaughter every inhabitant. The threat worked. Bucephalus was promptly returned with pleas for mercy. This story cemented for all time that Bucephalus was more than property. He was family. The great king would risk his entire conquest for his horse. What made Bucephalus so unique beyond his loyalty? Let's delve into the details recorded by ancient historians like Plutarch and Arrian. He was likely a stallion of the best Thessalian breed, known for their size and fiery temperament. Descriptions mention his black coat and the large white star on his forehead. Some accounts even mention a wall eye, a blue or pale iris, adding to his striking appearance. His name, Bucephalus, often interpreted as ox head, was likely due to the shape of the branding mark on his flank. Bucephalus carried Alexander through incredible distances, over 20,000 miles on the campaign trail, crossing mountains, deserts, and vast rivers. Imagine the stamina, the conditioning, and the sheer endurance required of this animal. In the Alexander Romance, a collection of embellished legends, the horse's status was elevated to the mythical. He was said to have been born on the same day as Alexander, and an oracle supposedly prophesied that the man who tamed the ox-headed horse would be the master of the world. This suggests that even in antiquity, the partnership was viewed as fated and divine. For years, Bucephalus was Alexander's shield in the great battles of Gaugamela, the siege of Tyre, and the long, grueling advance into Central Asia. He wasn't simply a horse, he was a living monument to Alexander's destiny. By 326 BCE, Alexander's army had reached the limits of the known world for the Greeks, the banks of the Hydaspes River in ancient India, facing the powerful forces of King Porus. Bucephalus was by this time incredibly old for a warhorse, around 30 years old. His body was weary from countless marches and battles, yet Alexander still rode him into the final, horrific confrontation, the Battle of the Hydaspes. This was a brutal engagement, famous for King Porus's massive use of war elephants, a terrifying challenge for any cavalry unit. Bucephalus, despite his age, once again carried his master through the battle, securing Alexander's final, hard-won victory. But the ride was over. Sometime after the battle, Bucephalus died. Historians disagree on the exact cause. Some sources, citing the contemporary historian Onesicritus, say he died simply from old age and exhaustion, a peaceful end for a true veteran. Other accounts suggest he succumbed to the fatal wounds received during the fighting. Regardless of the precise cause, the king was shattered. In a testament to a bond that surpassed all military necessity, Alexander immortalized his companion in a way few humans have ever been honored. Near the site of the battle, on the west bank of the Hydaspes River, Alexander founded a city. He named it Bucephala. This city, often identified with the modern town of Jalalpur Sharif in Pakistan, stands as a permanent physical monument to the love between a conqueror and his loyal steed. Bucephalus lived a life that mirrored his master's, legendary, grand, and world-changing. He was the measure of Alexander's unique character, a man whose ambition was infinite, but whose loyalty to the one creature that never flinched from his side was absolute. The story of Bucephalus is not just a footnote in military history, it is a timeless narrative of loyalty, courage, and companionship. He died at the geographic peak of Alexander's empire, marking a symbolic limit to the conquest. Alexander would only live another 3 years, his campaign losing its momentum after the death of his beloved horse. Bucephalus remains one of the most famous horses to have ever lived, the legendary black stallion who conquered the world, stride by glorious stride, alongside the boy who was brave enough to turn his face toward the sun. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the legend of Bucephalus. What other famous horses of history do you want us to cover? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable tales.